I wonder who came up with the excuse that repeatedly stabbing something was creative. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel of crafting, crochet and knitting. My name is Nikki and welcome to my little yarniverse. So today I'm going to be talking about how I have finally gotten started on an item for my souvenir wall. But it's going to be a little bit different because when I was in Fort William in Scotland, I picked up this. And as you can see, this is not knitting, this is not crochet, this is a needle felting kit. So I have not needle felted before this kit, and over the last week or so I have been starting this process. I took some footage of that, so I'm going to roll that short footage now so you can see my short attempt, and then we're going to come back together and add the finishing touches. So before we jump into the finishing touches, let me just remind you where I got to with the needle felting kit, because I deliberately set this down and let it sit for a bit rather than like keeping going for fear of ruining any of it. And I just wanted to give it time to sit and then come back to it and take a look. And I'm surprisingly happy with it. I think I need a bit more blue in the sky. So as I'm holding it up, like one of my lights is shining through it and everywhere else is quite thick, but the blue sky isn't, so I probably need to add some layers to that. But yeah, I'm kind of happy in the end. So let me talk a little bit about the process, because I kept that footage really short, and I think it's probably good for me to point out like some of the steps I went through with this. So the first is that initial layering, and the person who sells the kits also does online tutorials, so I was following one of those tutorials and she was really layering, so like very broad brush strokes in the start, and I was worried that that wouldn't bring out the amount of like texture that I wanted it to bring out, and so I don't want to say that I thought I knew best, because I absolutely knew I didn't, but I went a little bit off the beaten track, and I started trying to layer but in slightly less broad brush strokes. So I did try to like put a bit of shading in from the start so that the base layer had a little bit more tonality to it, and that didn't really matter so much, I don't think, as I went, because every time I added a new layer, I felt like I was just getting overwhelmingly that colour anyway. So shading from the start meant I would have had to shade it every time I added new layers, and I was really struggling in the middle parts with it. And in the end, I think I just kind of went back to some broader strokes anyway, and then picked up a lot more of the detail when I was happy with the overall colour. And layering is a good thing. The person who was doing the tutorial was saying that like the more colours that you have like in the layers, when you start stabbing the work more, some of that colour is going to come up to the top. And I kind of think it did, but I really, and so this is thought number 2, I really underestimated how much you need to felt the work, because so she said like if you stab it a few times, that will like kind of tack it down, but you could really easily pull it off. So I knew I had to stab it quite a bit, but I didn't have the best like materials for stabbing it. So in the kit you get a little, in fact let me grab it, in the kit you get a little device that holds one needle, and you get several needles in the kit as well. So you have this little thing here, you take out this little noggin and turn the needle round and then put it back in, and it wedges into place. So this is how you get your single needle felting, and I did use this when I was doing like the finer detail of the waterfall, but it wasn't really very helpful. Like this needle across this whole area is not going to do it. So I ended up just holding multiple needles in my hand, which is how she does it, but I found that slightly awkward. This is now stuck, there we go. I found that slightly awkward, and would rather that I had a little tool like this that held multiple needles for me. But beggars can't be choosers. This is my first time needle felting. I haven't invested in all of the gear, and I like that there's a kit that allows me to try something new without having to invest in all the gear. So pro tip, do get these, they're fabulous. So yeah, we've spoken about layering, we've spoken about how much you have to felt. Detail. Towards the end I started to learn a little bit more about how I was going to do the detail, because I actually wasn't working so much from the picture on the box, which was during like a snow-capped mountain kind of time. I was working slightly between the angle from that picture but then the coloration from a different picture that I took when I was at this waterfall, because that's the reason I picked up this kit in the first place. So I was there trying to get in a lot more of the autumnal coloration. The trees, you know, still had leaves on them, like very lush near the waterfall, and then the grass was like slightly dying towards the end of autumn, and so it was a little bit like lighter, wispier, and I was trying to capture all that detail, but I was trying to capture it in layers that were way too soon in the process. And I was also trying to capture like some structure in the rocks as well, to try and distinguish the different hills or different mountain peaks. And I was, like I say, I was doing that like in mid layers, and that was really not going well. So in the end, I just kept going with broader brush strokes for a while, and then started adding the tiniest little wisps, and I was like rolling them up into little balls so that I could make kind of like different structured trees. I think I had 3 different greens. No, was it? I think 2 greens, some brown, and some like golden ochre yellow. So I would get like literally a few staples of the different colours and blend them in different ways so that I could have even more variety. Down here, when I bubbled them and tried to make like tree structure, you have the wispiness of the waterfall, and then I was trying to add some light and dark like rock jagged edges into this hillside here. So yeah, as I'm looking at it, I'm pretty pleased. I remember kind of stopping at a point where I was kind of happy with it, but I wanted to give it another chance to sit. I think that I just need to repeatedly felt down some of the green parts and some of the brown parts, but as I, like I say, accidentally holding it up to one of my lights down here, there's a couple of places where I can see that there's really not very much fibre. So I need to try and go in, I think, with the single needle and just felt some wisps of fibre into that area as well to fill it in and to add definitely over the sky a lot more blue too. So let's move over to the desk and let's get started on that now. Okay, so I've just done the sky off camera because you did not need to see the last 10 minutes of me stabbing down layers of blue because it was not thick enough. But what we have done as well is we've got this this bit here by the waterfall that was looking a little bit thin when I was holding up to the light. I've just gone through with a bit of green, emerald green, and a bit of the darkest brown I've got, and I blended them together and put a strain of that in here. So that's going to need stabbing down a lot more at some point too. But the other place that there's sort of a bit of colour missing, a bit less thick fibre, is this part here. And I suspect that's because I've been like constantly trying to make this border of this hillside be really obvious, and as I'm sort of stabbing down away from this groove, it's pulled the fibre away. So I'm gonna try and find something colour matching for here. I think what I need is maybe a tiny bit of this yellowy ochre colour, but then probably quite a bit more of these darker ones as well. Maybe also this one, and just to try and blend these colours into each other slightly. So that we just kind of have like a very mottled selection of browns. And then I've got no idea how I'm going to do this without ruining the work. Maybe something like this. And I'll like stab the rest down into there, but then this is right over the middle. Oh, I hope this is okay. So it's getting there. We need a little bit more grass as well down here at the waterline to fill in some gaps, and then I think it just needs a very good overhaul with the needles to try and smooth out some of these edges. So I'm just going to try and avoid too much the white, but I don't mind if I get the darker brown in there a bit. Okay, so I have gone over the whole thing, doing a bit of felting. Oh, actually, maybe I need to do a little bit down there again. I took some of the leftover mix of greens and filled in some little extra bits around here that were letting the light through. I added a little bit more darkness to rocks around the riverbed, and some more white for the river itself because that was also letting through quite a bit of light. I've tried to smooth this around a little bit, so I don't know if it needs a little bit more. So what I've done is I've gone for slightly darker strand and put that over here, and then a lighter, well, like a mid-tone brown across here to try and smooth that back into place slightly. So that's working. I might do that a little bit more with the felting. There's still quite a bit of the green around here that feels like it needs to be just worked back in a little bit more, and I'm just hoping that nothing looks like really straight lines at the minute. So where I've put in these extra colours to add some depth so that the light is not coming through, I'm worried that some of them look a little bit too straight lined, and doing more of the felting has definitely smoothed some of that out, but there's still a few places where like maybe I need to get rid of it. So let's see if we can do some of that now. I think we want just a smidging of the greens again, but this time sort of balled up slightly. Actually, that's too much. Just like that much, teeny tiny bit, and then scruff that into a bit of a ball. And then if I do that here, it's just going to break up that line right on the end, I hope. So we'll work that down in a bit. And then down here, I think I need to break some of the lines up again as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of this yellow ochre colour and blend that into the greens as well, and then pop that around the shoreline here, again just to break up the lines that I was using to fill this in. So I'm going to have to really scrunch that up so that it doesn't also look like lines. That will need working in a lot more, but that's also broken that up a bit, I think. I don't mind this looking like a line because it's the river, but maybe up here just a touch more of the white just to re-establish this as the top and not have that be broken by the dark brown we added to fill it in. So I think that's better again when it's just been felted down quite a bit. This is what I'm meaning now about like finishing touches, is just breaking some of the lines that I accidentally introduced. I think I do just need to work those last bits on a bit more, and then I should be ready to frame it. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, I think that we are ready to frame this. So I'm not sure yet where I want that to go. I think part of this we will have to see as it is tightened in the frame. I'll be honest, I don't know which way around it goes. Does it go like that? Does it go the other way around? Probably goes this way around, doesn't it? So that's struggling to go in. Okay, we haven't at least got the loop over it. I've got no idea how easy it is to tighten this. Okay, I suspect that's as good as I'm going to be able to make this. So what I've actually done is I've got the hoop at the back and I've pushed it slightly further forward, so it's not actually flush with this hoop, it's sitting forward a bit, and it's just pushing this out and giving it a bit of 3D effect. And what it's also having the nice effect of doing is it's pushing the fabric backwards, so I've got a chance of being able to tuck it in around the back, because I don't want to cut all of this fabric off, because if this ever comes out the frame, if I don't have any fabric left, I'm not going to be able to get it back in. So I'm going to leave maybe like an inch around that will just tuck into the back here and be hidden out the way when I hang it on the wall. have our first finished souvenir for the souvenir wall. Now, I'm probably not going to hang this straight away, because if I do, it's going to be by itself and it doesn't give me a chance to sort of arrange the wall. So I'm going to have to make a couple more souvenirs before I do that. But I do have a notice board on the other side, and I'll probably just like hang it off the notice board for now, so I still get to enjoy it. I have used a little spray that I have, so it's just got water and lavender oil in it. And so like if you shake that up and the oil is suspended in the water and then you can spray it on things, then it should hopefully deter the moths. So that's what I have done. And I've also sort of had to, whilst the cloth at the back was damp, sort of shape it into place so that this is going to lean against the wall properly and not be pushed out by the excess fabric in the back. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this has come out, and this will remind me of our trip to Fort William and specifically our walk to Steall Waterfall. So thank you for joining me this week as I attempted my first ever needle felting kit. I have had a mixed experience. The final product is incredible and I love it, and I can't wait to stick it on my souvenir wall with some other mementos from my travels. And I'm probably going to go ahead with my plan of getting a new kit for a place that we visit anytime we go back to Scotland, because we do want to visit Scotland fairly regularly. However, the layering was something I was struggling with, and just the exertion required to repeatedly felt the fabric. So I think this is something I'm going to reserve for my Scotland souvenirs rather than making needle felting a regular part of my rotation. I do have one more kit, which is a Highland coup. I will do that at some point, but my wrists and my arms really need a break from all of that felting for now. So that is everything for today. Do let me know in the comment section if you are a fan of needle felting and what you're making at the moment, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!